spirit.
Mm.
Dropping stuff over here. Put on my chapstick.
Wow.
Yep. Can't podcast with chapped lips. It's an old saying.
Is it?
It's an old proverb. It's an old podcast proverb.
I didn't know it was a rule.
You can't podcast with dry, chapped lips.
But what if I have been?
Well, then you better go get some chapstick. Better run down to the 7-Eleven to buy yourself some chapstick.
I do.
We'll accept other lip balms.
What about, like, spit?
You're so gross. You're the worst.
Can I just, like, lick my
What,
lips
just
continuously?
lick your lips?
Like that creepy guy in Algebra 1 or whatever? Oh, ew.
Are my lips dry or am I coming on to you? You'll never know. If only I had invested in some chapstick.
Oh, why was that the sentence you said? Or am I coming on to you? I don't want either. Ew. Alright. Oh. I'm recording already.
So am I.
Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, I said I'm recording already.
And I said me too.
Oh, okay.
Are we fighting about this? There is no reason to fight about this. We did it together.
Just want to fight. I came to fight. No, I
came
didn't.
to fight.
I've been watching so much shitty.
I came to put on some chapstick and fight, and I already put on my chapstick.
Oh.
Ooh.
Who you fighting?
Myself.
The strongest enemy.
I am the strongest enemy.
Who will win, Monze or Monze?
Probably not me.
I've been watching these, like, terrible reality shows because they're just good to put on in the background while I work.
Okay, like what?
I finished the 2 seasons of Selling Sunset, which is about those, like, high-end realtor ladies that are selling, like, $1 million homes in Hollywood, and they're stupid drama. They're so stupid. Oh my god.
That sounds unfun. I don't like those shows.
Yeah. The production value is kind of high, which makes it tolerable. I feel like if I'm gonna watch a shitty reality show, it either has to be about something I'm actually interested in. If that's the case, I can forgive low production value and, like, clearly heavily produced, like the competition shows. But if the production value is really high, then I can watch just about anything. Because I'm like, ooh, look, it's shot like an actual episodic TV show.
You can have some respect for yourself.
Because, like, I watched Love is Blind, which is another it's just shitty dating reality show. But the production value was so good, I was like, oh yeah, this doesn't even feel like I'm watching a reality show. This feels like there's, like, intense drama angles and everything. I'm like, wow, they really told her to stand over there and look dramatic so they could get the Dutch angle shot. Like, what is this? They got the good cameras and everything. Everyone's so well lit. So it feels like I'm watching something that isn't real, which is
it's not real
because it's not real. But
you're already not watching something real.
But, like, with Keeping Up with the Kardashians, the production value is so shitty because it's just, like, 3 guys with a camera, right? And then, like, they're hiding behind the cameras at all times or whatever. But with this, it's like, I don't see the microphones, I don't see anything, the angles are good, it's so dramatic, it's shot like they're acting, which they are. So I'm like, oh yeah, I can watch this. But I tried watching this Australian reality show about these, like, extremely rich pregnant wives, but that one was awful. I was like...
It sounds awful.
I
mean, they all sound awful.
This one was awful because the production value was not there, and they were just bitching about the stupidest shit, and I was like, these guys are completely out of touch. Like, at least the LA people, like, there were, like, a couple single moms there, or, like, divorced or whatever, like, they've been humbled, or they like there's a good mix of people who've, like, been through the ringer and are now just, like, living in the lap of luxury, and like they're all hustling. Like they're clearly working hard to get money. It's just they're just bitchy. But with this one, it's like they're just trophy wives who are like, I want a Versace baby shower. It has to be Versace. Why can't I have the big room just because there's a wedding with 350 people and my baby shower only has 15 people? I want the big room. And it's like, you can't have it. And she's like, why? I'm like, oh, I hate you. So I stopped watching that. And now I'm watching Indian matchmaking. So, which also has a high production value and is a bit controversial, but it's entertaining. So,
But have you seen House Hunters?
yeah.
Only time I've ever really watched House Hunters is when someone else is watching it, or I'm like at the dentist and it's on. But I love that show because those people are so annoying. They're so
Yeah.
dumb.
Yeah.
They're just like, oh no, the wall color is light blue. I wanted it to be a light periwinkle. And it's like, well, Susan, you can paint it. It's like, I have $100 million for my house. I shouldn't have to paint the wall the exact color I want. And you're like, sometimes you gotta. Sometimes you got to.
Yeah.
But they're
Yeah.
like, oh, we both work in the city. John wants to live in the city. Barbara wants to live 50 miles from the city in the countryside on the edge of a waterfall. Guess who's gonna get her house? It's gonna be Barbara.
Happy wife, happy husband, or what? Happy wife, happy life.
No.
They always say that. They always say that, though.
It's always like, what?
And their jobs are like, he's like, he commits tax fraud regularly, and she collects seashells from the beach. Their budget is $300 million. And they're gonna go for the house that's $100 million over budget. Because we like the waterfall. No, that's why I like Selling Sunset, because like at least I get to see the extremely rich houses. So I'm like there's I get to see the houses, which are always fun, even though I'm like I will never afford this. But like those houses are always so like minimalistic because they're so big, right? And they're like it's so meticulously designed. I was like, if I had a $3 million, 3,000 square foot house, I would not only have like 10 pieces of furniture in there. Like the walls, I would just look at it like this is going to be my new personal museum.
Canvas.
Yeah, literally. I'm like, there's gonna be shelving. I'm gonna like every time I travel, I'm just gonna I'm never gonna be like, I don't know if there's enough space in my house, because I know there's gonna be space in my house. I'm gonna buy fucking everything at every curio store, everywhere I go. Just I don't care how big it is. It's just like my whole house is just gonna be cluttercore. It's gonna be 3,000 square feet of just like anime prints and anime figures and rocks I find and like everything.
Rocks I find.
Rocks I
like
find.
You're 3 years old.
Yes.
Jesus Christ. I was gonna be like, let me send you this link to this 10-bedroom house I found. But now I'm not going to, because I don't want to ever live in a house with you. Buy a house with you, because you'd be like, look at all this wall. I now finally have a place to put all my rocks.
I don't have to stack them in jars anymore. I can put them all
I can
individually.
throw you in the trash.
I would just like glue the rocks to the wall, or I don't know. I would just
glue.
I'd have a room where I'd be like, I have an art book and I like all the pictures.
I'm suddenly really busy. I actually have something I need to do. I don't have time for this.
No, yeah, that would be me. I would like, they would hate what I did to the house. I'd be like, you've devalued the house. I'd be like, I don't care, bitch. I bought this and I'm paying this off for the rest of my life. I'm turning it into my own personal museum. It's gonna be great. That's what I would do. I'd be like, look at all this real estate. Literally. Plants everywhere, rocks everywhere, books everywhere, art everywhere. Not a single blank wall anywhere. Just.
I'm never visiting you in your creepy, weird house.
I mean, you saw like how I decorated the wall in LA in that room we shared together.
I know, but it's just the idea of you having rocks on the wall. I cannot.
I'd like put them in front of the window so you could like
I don't
see.
even care what, how you're doing it. I just, no. Why are you like this? Rocks.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. You know what? I see a rock and I go, oh, hey. Actually, no, I don't do that because I don't look at rocks because rocks mean literally nothing to me.
Sometimes, though, you just see a cool rock and you're like...
Yeah, and then you go, oh, hey, that's a cool rock. And then you keep on stepping.
No,
you just
not...
keep on walking.
If I'm at a national park, yes, because you're not supposed to take anything from there. But if I'm anywhere else, no, I'm taking it. It's mine now.
It's mine.
The rock...
It's mine. I found it.
Yes. I'm like, this is mine. This rock called my attention, and I'm taking it home. Or, like, feathers, or, like, cool sticks, flowers.
Cool sticks.
Cool sticks. I have a stick in my car.
Sticks.
I have a stick on
you
my
have
wall.
A stick in your car. You have a stick on your wall.
Yeah. I'm looking right at it.
Oh, congratulations.
The stick in my car broke, though, because my friend broke it on accident. I have to glue it.
You don't want to know why they broke it? Because it was a stick, and it was in your car, and when you see sticks, you break them.
No!
Yes!
No!
Yes!
No!
Jesus Christ. Alright, let's talk about this movie.
Okay.
Hey, everybody. You're listening to We Don't Watch Movies with Monze.
And Corinne.
Ooh. And today, we're talking about The Exorcist.
I'm so stressed. I don't want to watch the trailer for this movie.
I honestly forgot most of this movie because I was not watching most of this movie because I had my face covered by a pillow the entire time I was watching this movie. So I will be mainly going off a synopsis and then chiming in with my little comments.
The trauma that stuck.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but yeah, so we're gonna watch The Exorcist because this time I did actually watch it. I watched it a while ago with my friends.
Yeah.
It's not a fun experience. Corinne?
Yes.
What? Why haven't you seen The Exorcist? Like, what's up, girl?
Why do you think it's scary? It's scary and I'm a wuss. I get scared. I can't, every time I tell people this, they're like, wow, I don't get it. But it's like, I just cannot watch live action horror. I can read it. I can watch it if it's animated. I can read it if it's a comic book. But I hate looking at still photograph production. Like, I hate looking at the production stills from, like, horror movies. And I cannot watch anything live action that's horror or, like, graphic or, like, looks creepy or gross or whatever. I get, like, physical reactions. Like, it tastes gross. I feel gross. I get, it's not a good time. It's not a good time. I get anxiety watching them, literally. I just cannot watch it. I know it's fake. I know it's fake. It doesn't matter if I know it's fake. Like, I think I like, feel the pain. Like, if someone gets impaled, I imagine what that feels like, and it's not fun. So, I just never watched it. I heard it was terrifying. I hear it's scary. This girl throws a pea soup, and I'm like, I know it's pea soup, but I don't want to look at it, and, like, her head swivels around. I'm like, I know that's not real. That's probably a doll or a special effect, but I don't want to see it. She looks gross.
She looks gross.
She looks so I don't want to see that. I don't want to see her face. Like, no. No. I read the synopsis over and over again, and I read the parental advisory.
Why would you read the synopsis over and over again?
Because, like, I forget what happens, and then, like, The Exorcist pops back up into, like, my, like, social sphere, and I'm like, oh, right, what happens in that movie? And then I read, I'm like, oh, and then I'm done. I think it's based on a book, right? Like, I would read the book. I read a lot of horror, but I can't watch it.
Yeah, I think it's based off a book, and I think it's based off, like, a real exorcism that took place in, like, the 1920s.
Yeah. And, like, you know me, I hate ghost stories. Like, anything within the realm of, like, reality. If it's, like, if it's like a bookstore, like ghost story that's fictional, it's fine. But if it's like someone being like, I have a ghost story that actually happened to me, I'm like, no, do not tell me. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to know about it. I don't need to know your paranormal experience. I read a no sleep on skinwalkers and I like could not sleep and I try not to think about it. Like it's no, I can't do it. So, yeah. I'm not about that. I'm not
Not
about.
about
I
that
believe
life.
strongly in not allowing more stress than need be into my life, and this is something I can cleanly control for the most part. So, yeah.
Cool.
Thank
That
you.
was too long of an answer. Okay. So what do you think the movie's about?
Okay. I think I'm gonna get pretty close because I've read the synopsis multiple times as we
Yeah,
discussed.
apparently
So I
it
think
feels like I'm wasting my time doing this.
I haven't read it. I haven't read it in a while though, and I didn't read it recently. So I think what happens is this uh family calls the exorcist. He's like this priest who does exorcisms because their daughter, who's like 8 or 12 years old, she's like little, has been acting weirdly, and they don't know why. And I think he has like some like personal reason like why he's doing this. Like maybe there was a failed exorcism, like he dealt with this demon before or something with a child, and the kid died or something. Like he has something to prove. Like he's got this person. It's not just like straight horror. Like he's got something I think for why like this is personal for him. I think so he goes over there and they're trying to check it out. He doesn't even know if he fully believes in it or not. But then he sees and she's like doing all these weird things. Like doesn't she like masturbate with a cross and she's like hanging upside down, like floating above the bed and her like head swivels around. She like throws up and she like speaks with a voice that isn't hers and says like curse words and these vile things. And the guy was like, "Oh yeah, there's something wrong with your daughter." Um
There's something super wrong with your daughter, man.
And then they're just like trying to get it out of her. Like they just trap her in the bedroom. I don't think she does anything to anybody besides be like terrifying. Like I don't think she kills anyone, right? And then like eventually they're like, here's what we gotta do to like prepare for it, and then they get the demon out. Like I think that's just kind of it, right? And the demon maybe it's like something that he's seen before, and now he's like, oh, I gotta get this thing out of her and help her, otherwise she'll die somehow. So that's what I think happens. They do it. I think one person dies. I don't know how. I get this movie mixed up with The Omen a lot,
Okay.
but yeah, that's what I think happens.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, Green,
I don't want to watch this
are you ready for the
trailer.
trailer?
No, I'm really not. I don't want to watch it.
I don't want to watch
I
the
don't
trailer.
want to watch the trailer. I really don't want
It'll be fine,
to.
maybe.
I don't want to. Which one are we
Right?
watching?
I don't watch it. I don't want to watch it either.
Oh, I really don't
It's...
want to watch this.
Tell
Mm.
me why have you started?
I want to put it on the mini player. Okay, it's on the mini player. I'm starting it now.
Your face.
Oh. Oh no, the face.
Oh no, the face. I mean, that trailer wasn't as bad as it could have been.
No, it really wasn't. I'm
Because it was, the 1970s.
okay. I also had it on a MIDI player and everything. Okay, that wasn't terrible.
Okay, yeah. And they didn't really show the girl that much.
They probably didn't want to because they wanted
Yeah.
like the whole point is like how horrifyingly scary it is. Like that's like how a trailer should be. We're not gonna show it to you. If you want to see it, buy the ticket. Like that's how it should be. But nowadays they
Okay.
just show you everything.
Do you want to change your thing or?
No, I think that's exactly what happens.
Okay, yeah. It's a pretty good, synopsis of what happened. Okay, so it sort of opens. with like this. They're in like Iraq or something, and they're like this archaeological dig or whatever. I was really confused. I was like, I don't know what's going on. Anyway, they find like this. Well, I guess Father Marin. Like he's just like an old guy right now. You don't really know who he is. He finds like a little demonic figure or whatever. And he's all like, "Oh, what is this?" But he doesn't really say anything. But you could just tell like maybe something is off. But they don't really tell you what it is. Like at all. So it feels like it has nothing to do with anything. And then we like cut to like the U.S. and we're following this actress named Chris McNeil, who's the mom.
Oh, okay.
And she's like on set, like doing this movie about like student protests or something. It's a very like white feminist movie. And she lives with her daughter Reagan. And like her personal assistant, her two housekeepers or whatever, and they're just like renting a house basically in DC while they're shooting this movie in Georgetown. And we don't know what's going on with the dad, but there's like some deep, weird stuff going on with the dad. Like this woman calls him and she's just cursing him out, but like the daughter is like a room away and she can hear everything. And it's like, this is not how you raise a child. Anyway. But I guess there are like sounds in the attic, and Chris is like goes to check it out, but they're like, I don't see anything, and the housekeeper's like, what are you doing up here? She's like, oh, it must be rats or whatever.
Not rats.
Yeah, and but she's like with her daughter, and her daughter is like this super carefree little girl, and she's like, oh hey mom, whatever. And she's like, oh, is dad gonna call for my birthday? And she's like showing her like pictures she's been drawing. She's supposed to be, I think, like 10 or 11 or 12 or something. I thought she was older, and then she looked like she was younger throughout I didn't know how old this girl was at all. I'm like, wait, she's 8? I thought she was 12. Like, I was just confused. And then she, of course, has been playing with an Ouija board.
Of course.
As
white children do.
And the mom was like, oh, let's play or whatever. And she was like, she's like, no, I don't think Captain Howdy wants you to.
Oh,
which is what she's been naming the spirit that she's been talking to.
No!
So, yeah, so they, like, try to play and it won't move. She's like, yeah, I don't think Captain Howdy wants to play with you or whatever. Which, at that moment, I was like...
No.
What? No! You better throw Captain Howdy in the trash and go to church.
I don't think you should play with Captain Howdy anymore.
Yeah. At all. But yeah, so Chris is like working on this new movie and stuff, and she like sort of notices this young priest guy, and this guy's name is Damien Karras, and they call him Demi throughout the movie. And he's a Catholic priest with like a background in psychology and stuff.
Okay.
And so he's taking care of his sick mom. And he basically ends up putting her, I think with the suggestion of his uncle, to like, because she was really sick, to put her in like this hospital, and she ends up sort of dying in there, and he feels all this guilt about it, and he starts to be like, did I do the right thing? And he's like questioning his faith and all that stuff. Yeah. And then I guess weird stuff is starting to happen to Reagan, but it's like a little thing. She's starting to act a little weird or whatever. And she's like, goes to Chris's bed one night, and she says her bed was shaking. And the mom is like, don't worry about it. I don't think it's anything. They go to her room and everything's fine. So like, just go back to bed or whatever. And I'm just like,
At the very least, just sleep here tonight, you know, like, okay.
No, the mom's a hot mess. But that mom is not a good mom. But then again, things are starting to get a little more weird, and, oh yeah, there was this weird thing that happened where a nearby Catholic church is desecrated. A statue of the Virgin Mary is painted crudely and adorned with conical clay additions made to resemble breasts and a penis, which is actually what the, like, weird figure that priest found at the beginning sort of looks like.
It's like the Baphomet. Like, you know, they usually...
Yeah, it's like, I think it's called Pazuzu or something like that. And then, but Reagan is also, like, making little clay and paint animal sculptures and stuff. So it's like, I don't know what's going
Mm.
on. But anyway, Chris has like this big party at her house, and all these like directors and astronauts, all these famous people are there. Um, and so like Regan is having like a pretty decent time at the party. But after she's been sent to bed, she like comes down, like in her nightgown, and she like interrupts like this moment where they're playing the piano and they're all singing, and she's all like points at like this astronaut guy, and she's like, "You're gonna die up there," and then she like pees on herself. And then Chris is like, "This is weird. Let's go take you back to bed." But she doesn't like tell anybody to leave the party. Like the party is still going on. But then uh, Chris gives her a bath. She sends her back to bed. But she's about to like go. Well, no, because she goes back to the party, and then she comes back up, and she hears like shaking or whatever, and she goes to Reagan's room, and the bed is all shaking, and it's like super crazy and like whatever, and it's like rah, 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 and Reagan's like, Mom, help me, and she's like, that's not just like shaking, that's like legit.
Now I believe you.
Yeah, and like Chris jumps on the bed, but the bed is still like in the air and shaking or whatever, and so then Chris starts taking Reagan to like the doctor and getting her all these medical tests to figure out what the problem is, but because they're all like, maybe it's like some sort of psychosis, and Chris is like, it's not, I don't think it's a mental thing, because I was legitimately there and the bed was up in the air and it was shaking. Like, they're like, no, I think it's gotta be something mental.
I was gonna say, like, like nothing psychological is going to levitate a bed, but okay.
Yeah, so they're going through all of these like brain tests and all this stuff to see what's going on, and it's like some really like because it is like realistic like tests, like you see them like getting all this blood out of her and doing all this. It was just like, oh, the worst. And then they're in the scenes where they're doing all the brain tests or whatever, like the CAT scans or whatever. That's the scene where you actually have the real life serial killer in there.
What?
And so the Exorcist has a real life serial killer in the movie.
Who? Like he was an actor?
No. He was a radiologist, like an actual radiologist. And for the scene, they just cast whoever was in that room to do the thing because they already knew and they could do it the most realistically. And anyway, a few years after the movie came out, it turned out that he was an actual serial killer. Fun facts.
Oh my god!
Yeah!
What are the odds of like, just like, hey, can we film at this hospital? Sure. Hey, can we film actual doctors? Like, just like do your thing? They were like, sure. And one of the actual doctors is, oh my goodness. Was he killing people like while that movie was being made?
I don't know. I don't remember. You can look that up by yourself. I'm not going to look it up right now. He was like a radiologist. He was like a technician. He wasn't like a doctor.
How did he kill people? Okay, continue.
Yeah, you can figure. I'm still in the middle of a story. So they're like trying to figure out what's going on with her. Like maybe there's a lesion in her brain, but they don't see it. So like nothing's on this brain scan. Like what are we gonna do? And like Regan has like seizures in the house, and the doctors are coming to visit. But she's like rising and falling up on the bed. It's just like, it's not just like blah, blah, blah. It's like legit up and down. Like this is not a natural thing for like people to do. And like when they're trying to like sedate her or whatever, she like hurls them across the room, and she speaks to them in like a horrible voice. It's like, keep away, this sow is mine or whatever. Like, yeah, like the worst. And they like sedate her. And so then Chris is like, well, maybe I could find a psychiatrist as opposed to like, all these doctors, right? Maybe it's something like, I don't know, not just with her brain, but like an actual mental health thing. So they're like trying to figure out like what else to do, and the doctors are all like, well, if it's mental, maybe she thinks she's possessed by a demon, so get an exorcist and pretend like you're gonna perform an exorcism to get rid of the thing, so she'll stop thinking that she's possessed by a demon. It's like a really dumb it's like, what? What kind of a doctors are like, just perform an exorcism, but like, don't do a real exorcism?
Perform a fake exorcism on your daughter so she stops thinking she's possessed.
Yeah, they're like, well, we don't know if it works, but it works sometimes, right? Because if she thinks that she has this issue, right? It'll go away.
Yeah.
But Chris, like, she's not religious at all, so she's like, what the heck does that even mean? And so, like, Chris goes out one evening. I don't know why she goes out, and she leaves her child home alone. And she returns home, and she's like, the house is deserted except for Reagan. And she's alone in her room, and she seems to be sleeping, right? But the room is cold, and the window is open, right? And she's like uncovered or whatever. And then her assistant comes back, and Chris is all like, "Why'd you leave my daughter all alone?" She's like, "She wasn't alone. She was the person who you sent here to babysit her was with her. I just went out for a second. I went to the pharmacy to get medicine or whatever." And so the guy who wasn't there, he was pushed out the window, out of her window and down these stairs, and this window overlooks like these flight of stairs or whatever. And that guy is like the director of the movie that Chris is making.
She got the director of her movie to babysit her kid
because they're best bros.
And then he died
because he's her gay best friend.
They killed the gay guy?
Yeah, of course they did. It's 1973. But they sort of break the news of like his death by like this guy coming to the door. It's like, hey, Chris has died. He's right there. Pointing. That was where I was confused because, like I said, they didn't show anything. They just sort of were like telling us, and I was not really paying attention because I was scared. So I was confused. But yeah, I guess he somehow fell out the window or whatever. And this detective comes around and starts asking about his death, the director's death. And, you know, Chris is like, doesn't want to say anything about her daughter because there is that sort of fear that maybe her daughter's the one that pushed him out the window or whatever. And the detective notices like little small animal figures that look like the desecrated statue that was in the church or whatever. And then he goes to Demi and is like, hey, do you know anything about exorcisms? Which I was like, what?
You're a priest. You should know. Don't you learn about demons in preschool?
Yeah. And then, like, after the detective leaves or whatever, like, there's, like, all these loud screams and stuff from upstairs. And that's when, like, the girl is, like, basically stabbing herself in the vagina with a cross. Telling, like, Jesus to fuck her or whatever. It's, like, super gross.
Yeah.
And, like, grotesque. And I'm just like, this is gross. And then Chris tries to stop her, but Regan uses, like, these powers, like, shove, like, a big dresser in front of the door and stuff. She's, like, putting all this stuff away, and the girl is, like, screaming, except, like, the monster is, like, oh
my God.
And then that's when, like, the girl's head turns all the way around. And then she speaks in the dead director's voice. It's like, do you know what your daughter did, or whatever. And that's when Chris sort of realizes that her daughter is responsible for that guy's death. And so then Chris ends up meeting with Damien, and is like, hey, do you know anything about exorcisms? And he's like, what? Exorcisms are like, no one does exorcisms, right? Like, that's really gross and weird. Like, no one ever does that. And she's like, look, you're a priest, but you're also a psychologist. Like, can you tell me that there's nothing wrong with my daughter? Right? Like, or can you help me figure out what's going on?
Yeah.
And so he goes to go check on her, on Regan. I keep forgetting her name. And so he goes to talk to her, and she's like, I'm the devil, or whatever. And she's, like, messing around with him, like, making stuff, like, move and stuff like that. Speaking him in different languages, and then, and Reagan's like, oh, your mom's with me. She's like, why did you hurt him, or whatever? Like, why'd you put me here, son, or whatever? And he's all freaked out. Oh, and that's when Regan does her vomit. And Karis is still like, I don't know if she's possessed. I mean, she says she's the devil. That's weird, right? She just probably needs some psychiatric help. And she's like, look, just help. Just help me, because that thing upstairs is my daughter. And so he ends up going to, like, the head priest, and he's like, so this lady wants me to do an exorcism. And they're like, oh, just check to see what's going on. So Karis, well, Demi, whatever, keeps coming back
Uh-huh.
to like check up on her and is like trying to see what's going on. Like he throws water on her and he tells her it's holy water and she starts like writhing in pain, but it's not actually holy water.
Um.
Um, and he's like, again, I don't think, right, like this sort of proves that it's not real because otherwise she would have known.
Mhm.
Um, oh, and then he like records like all her babbling and stuff, and he's like, "What is this?" And he realizes it's just like English but backwards. Which that's the thing I don't understand is that like you're speaking backwards, like "son, hello," or are you like just literally doing it phonetically,
I think
like
it's phonetically, like,
"ole
yeah. Oh,
vos."
I think it's both. Like you take the whole, like if it's supposed to be like hello sun, it would be like sun backwards then hello backwards. So it'd be like nasa
That's too much work to
ole.
like be pretending to do. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like that's um
I agree.
yeah, but he like gets a call from like Chris's house, and he like so he goes to like the house,
Mhm.
and like Reagan's unconscious, but the words "help me" are like materialized in her stomach, like it's been like stabbed in there, like she scratched it in there,
Mhm.
which was like. Ah. So then he's like, "All right, maybe I should see about getting this exorcism because that was weird." um, but again, he still thinks of it like it's just a psychological thing. But they end up calling Father Marin, who is like the exorcism guy, which is the old guy from the beginning who
Mhm.
found like the demon figure. And he had actually, I guess, battled with this demon before or whatever. And he's like telling Demi, you're like, hey, yeah, and he like tells Demi like, the devil's gonna try and mess with you, and don't listen to him. Just focus on whatever we're doing. And then, but as he comes in the house, like she's like screaming his name, like Marin, you're here, like you're back or whatever. Um,
How have you
and
been?
so they like go to start like this, which is like this is literally Act 3. It's like you talk about the Exorcist, but you talk about exorcism for most of this movie, and then you're like, all right, 20 minutes, let's do an actual exorcism. Um, yeah, but like they go into the room and she's like cursing at them and she's using like levitation and telekinesis and she's got like super gross long tongue and she's like
Ah.
vomiting out random stuff and she's cursing them and laughing at them and saying horrible things. And she like starts talking again to Demi in his dead mom's voice and he's like, "Oh, what's going on?" He like freaks out. Um, in the middle of his exorcism and he goes away and he comes back and Marin is dead on the ground. Apparently he had like a heart attack or something. Um, and so then Regan's like, ha 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 ha, or whatever. So then Kara's like grabs her and he's like shouting at her, like beating her up. And he's like, get into me, take me, or whatever. So then the demon transfers into Demi. And then before he could do any bad stuff, he throws himself out the window that the other guy had fallen out of, and he like tumbles down because it's I don't know why the window was right above these big stairs, and he tumbles out and he tumbles down all these stairs and he dies. And your face, and then like the priest friend comes and he's like, "Oh, you're dead. Last rites." Um, and then I don't know how long this is after everything, but then Chris and Reagan are leaving the house. They're gonna leave Georgetown. I guess they can't do that movie because that director's dead. Um, and Reagan has like no memory if anything does happen. But I'm like, wouldn't she have scars and stuff? Like, wouldn't she be physically anyway? And like one of the priest friends comes by and he's like, "Well, hope you all have a good day. Bye." And Reagan like hugs him or whatever. And they like go away or whatever. But before they leave, she gives the priest like this medallion, like this, like a religious medallion that was Demi's, I guess, that she like took off of him before he died. And she's like, "Here, you can take this." And then I'm like, "Is this bad? Is this an evil thing?" Anyway, that's how it ends. And that's The Exorcist.
Wow. I remembered, like, I forgot about the old guy, but when you said there was an old guy, I was like, oh, he dies. But I forgot the main priest guy dies. I remember the point of the movie was it was supposed to like keep you guessing on whether or not she was faking it or not, since it was based on a true story. And in the true thing, like, was it actually like the whole conceit, right, of these like real life possession stories is like, were they actually possessed or were they
Or are they like
extremely
mentally
disturbed,
unwell?
right?
Mm-hmm.
So I remember they were trying to like reading the synopsis. They're like, there's some doubt because this child might be psychologically disturbed, and the mom is not like the best mother. So like maybe the mom is also not completely reliable,
Yeah,
or some
because
of
there's
this is from
hints, right,
her.
that like she doesn't have the greatest home life,
Mm-hmm.
and like there's an estrangement between the father and the mother,
Yeah,
and like witnessing those fights and stuff like that.
it's like that's where she might get the language from. She's
Yeah, for
overhearing
sure.
it.
Because
Yeah.
yeah, that mom is like cursing up a storm, and you're like, your daughter is like 8, 10. I don't know how old this child is, but you should not be using this language around her.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Yeah. Do you think it was effective in casting that doubt, or was it just like super obvious, like clearly this girl is possessed, like none of this is humanly possible?
I mean, to me, it's. I mean, I'm Catholic, so to me, I'm like, girl is possessed. That girl got the devil in her. Girl needs to find Jesus. Um, yeah, I mean, when you get to like, if your first sort of interaction, right, with this demon in like a bigger sense besides like the Ouija board is literally seeing that bed shake up and down,
Yeah.
which is like, well, that's not humanly possible.
Yeah.
That to me is like, well, that's obviously
Yeah.
right. That's obviously a demon.
Like that, like the proof was like right there in the beginning. I'm like, this clearly cannot be, like, maybe the mannerisms are like psychological or psychiatric, right? But that does not take off the table that there is some spiritual entity at play, because the bed was like, how high off the ground was it?
It was pretty high up the ground. It
Right?
was like someone was picking up the bed and like
Yeah,
shaking it.
it's like 3 feet off
Like
the
a foot
ground.
at
Yeah,
least.
like a
Like a
foot
foot or
off the
two, yeah.
ground,
And it's going
unsupported,
like
and it's
boom,
doing
boom, boom,
this.
boom.
It's like,
Yeah.
no one, like, that cannot physically happen. You know, like, that's impossible. Like, her mental whatever state is not going to cause this to happen. And if it's because she suddenly has telekinesis, you still need to, like that's beyond modern psychology at that point, right? Like, you need to figure out what's going on. I don't understand how they're like, oh yeah, the bed was lifted a foot off the ground, but we still don't think we need a real exorcism. Like, no, no, that's not possible. That right there, like, it's like they made it so obvious from the get-go, but then they just focused on the later symptoms. But I like her head spun around 100%, and then like when she puked, I'm like, who projectile vomits on cue green shit, you know?
Speak for yourself, Corinne. Last night I projectile vomited on cue.
Wow.
So for some it's a gift. For others it's a curse. You can decide which one it is for me.
I guess it's how you use that ability, right?
It's how you use it. For good or for evil.
Yeah. I mean, I know some people have like a strong grasp on their like gastrointestinal system. Like there was that guy in America's Got Talent who would like swallow pennies and then like
we're not.
burp.
No, we're not going into this. We're not going into this. I'm sorry this ever came up in conversation. I'm gonna projectile vomit on my computer right now.
That's just property damage to yourself. But yeah, I don't.
Well, I'm taking some psychic damage right now, so.
Yeah, I feel like the proof is in the pudding that there is clearly something spiritual going on if the bed is the first thing that you see. Like if the bed was later, then that would make sense, but that's like the first thing.
Yeah.
I don't get it. So like when the demon was like happening, would she be like screaming and the demon voice is happening at the same time?
Sometimes in like the first half, it would be like her screaming and then like the demon voice like doing their own thing, cursing or whatever. It sometimes be like a mix of both, sometimes be one or the other. And then later on it was mainly like she was basically completely like possessed by the demon.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
And then her face gets grosser and grosser, like she looked horrible. I mean, you've seen like a picture of it, like when you saw the whatever. And then when she shows up, like at the end of the movie, it's like nothing ever happened to her. It's like, I think maybe there should be some physical side effects
Right?
of her looking awful. 'Cause she looks so gross and so disgusting. Uh, yeah. But
Yeah.
I was a little sad about the Greek priest dying. I'm just assuming he's Greek. He was probably not Greek.
Who, the young guy or the old guy?
Yeah, the
Oh,
young guy.
yeah.
Cause is Damien also a name in The Omen? Or is
Yeah.
that? I think that's why I was confused because that's such like a big name, you know?
Yeah.
When people think of like double names, and then I was confused because he was a priest and then he died at the end of this movie, and I was like, wait, what?
Yeah, Damien Thorne is the kid. So,
There we go.
all right, I'm looking up the serial killer. It's so it's Paul Bateson,
Mm-hmm.
an American convicted murderer and former radiographer, appeared as a radiological technologist in a scene from The Exorcist, which was inspired when the film's director watched him perform a cerebral angiography the previous year. The scene, with a considerable amount of blood on screen, was, for many viewers, the film's most disturbing scene. Medical
Yeah, it was
profession.
really disturbing.
Really? What did he do? Like, did he just open the
They
brain?
like it's literally like here, like where your cardiac, your whatever
Keratin?
artery.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they like put like a tube or something in there. It was something really like, and it was like all this. You can see like all the blood, but like blood would gush out too because they would have to like
Ah, because it's an
like get that
artery.
in
Yeah.
there. Yeah, and it was like, oh.
What was the point of that? To look at the brain through the tube?
I guess no. I think they needed it to get blood samples or
Oh,
something. I don't
okay.
know what they needed it for. I'm not a.
It's a form of angiography, which doesn't tell me anything, which provides images of blood vessels in and around the brain, therefore allowing detection of abnormalities. So it's like to see if there's like an aneurysm or something wrong in your brain.
Mm-hmm.
Medical professionals have praised it for its realism. In 1979, which would have been 6 years after the movie was released, he was convicted of the murder of film industry journalist Addison Verrill and sentenced to a minimum of 20 years in prison. In 2003, he was released on parole, which ended after 5 years. Prior to Bateson's trial, police and prosecutors implicated him in a series of unsolved slayings of gay men in Manhattan, killings he had reportedly boasted about while in jail, bringing it up at his sentencing. However, no additional charges ever were brought against him. The experience inspired Friedkin, who had directed The Exorcist, to make the 1980 film Cruising. Oh, I've heard of this one, which, while based on a novel written a decade earlier, incorporated in its storyline the city's leather subculture with which Bateson had identified. Yeah, because I think Cruising was about a serial killer who targeted gay men. Friedkin recalled having visited the jailed Bateson prior to his trial and having a conversation which suggested that either Bateson had committed the additional murders or merely that he was considering confessing to them for a lighter sentence. However, there is no other record of incriminating evidence mentioned by Friedkin in that interview. Despite this, Bateson is often inaccurately described as a serial killer. So he wasn't convicted as a serial killer, just a murder,
Yeah.
but he's taken responsibility for
multiple murders. Yeah.
Yeah. So then when he murdered the guy in 1977. Let me see. I think it was after the exorcism that he might have started doing this. Suspicion. Oh, they found 6 men at the time of his arrest, which was the 77. So probably not while he was actually filming, but yikes.
Yikes.
He's portrayed in the 2nd season of Mindhunter. Interesting.
Interesting.
They don't know if he's still alive or not.
That's creepy.
Because he was released, because he would have been released in 2007, right?
Parole, yeah.
The director said in a 2018 interview that he had heard Bateson was living somewhere in upstate New York. But a social security record shows that a Paul F. Bateson with the same birthday and social security number issued in Pennsylvania died on September 2012. That's what they think. How did he... The guy was found beaten in his apartment. So they think, like, Bateson was let in and then killed him, I guess. I don't know. There's, like, a lot in here. It's kind of a dense page. Wild! Wasn't, like, weren't there other things going on that was weird during the exorcism filming?
Yeah, there was a bunch of stuff.
Like it was like a curse thing or whatever.
Yeah, I didn't look into any of that because I didn't care enough. I was over it.
Yeah, they used a puppet. Like they would have had to, right?
Oh my god, producers sought to have Jamie Lee Curtis audition for the role of Reagan, but her mother, Janet Leigh, refused. Could you imagine child Jamie Lee Curtis?
Wow. She really was destined for horror movies, huh?
Yeah, I guess.
Cause she was in
She's in
the other
yeah,
one.
Halloween.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't blame her mother being like, no. No. Oh yeah, the spider walk scene, right? She like walks on the ceiling.
Yeah, that was not shown in the original theatrical release. I didn't actually see that in this version.
Oh, okay.
They only put it back in for the 2000. I read that for the 2000 release.
Oh. I wonder why. Because that kind of stuff is like used for, um, like I think that like walking on the ceiling sort of stuff is like associated with The Grudge, right? But it's also associated with The Exorcist. So I wonder,
Yeah.
like how and when. Yeah, it says 2000 director's cut of the film. Interesting. I thought that was part of the original. So the demon they use is actually like a real demon.
Mm-hmm.
It says Pazuzu is the king of the demons of the wind in the ancient Mesopotamian region. But his statue doesn't look as like androgynous, like both features, right? As what you
What?
described. Because you said they like defaced the Virgin Mary by like adding like both
Yeah.
like the breasts and a penis. But in this statue here that someone actually made back then, there's no like prominent breasts. There's only like a penis and like bird feet. So I don't know. It also says even though he himself is considered to be an evil spirit, he drives and frightens away other evil spirits. So, yeah. Interesting. I wonder why they picked him. If it's like the exotic
Oh, it is
racism.
implied that Reagan was being molested by Burr, Chris's director and friend. This is more obvious in the novel. I don't know if it was
Oh.
implied. I didn't get picked that up on that on all.
That's by the director?
The guy she kills that she puts out the
Yeah.
window.
The gay guy who
Well, he seemed gay. You
Oh.
know how they would do like that affectation or whatever.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, I'd be interested in reading the novel to see, because I think the novel kind of makes it much more ambiguous, right? That's what it's sounding like from what you're saying. If it's much,
But like the novel is also more like gross.
probably, yeah.
Yeah, they said like the cross scene where she's stabbed
Yeah.
longer and rougher.
Yeah.
Captain Howdy's playing Howard, which is Reagan's father and Chris's estranged husband's name. I didn't know that.
Oh.
Oh, we learned from the shot of the tabloid magazine at the beginning. Oh, it's that Reagan is looking at, which is Howard walks out on Chris and daughter that Mr. McNeil has just left them. and it logically follows that Regan is devastated by that and is looking for a substitute father figure. The demon, after being contacted by Regan through the Ouija board, inadvertently knows this, so introduces himself as Howdy to emulate her father and become the father figure she's hungering for at this point in her life.
Oh. Interesting. There's like controversy because of subliminal imagery.
Yeah, there's like a bunch of like weird like
Flashes.
flashes of like weird faces.
Yeah. Someone wrote, the Exorcist author Blatty addressed the controversy by explaining that there are no subliminal images. If you can see it, it's not subliminal. I don't know.
All right, sure.
If you have to resort to a technicality, what does subliminal, like people know it's there, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I guess the adjective, below the threshold of sensation or consciousness, perceived by or affecting someone's mind without their being aware of it. But, like, once you know it's there, then you're aware of it, you know? Like, I'm sure a lot of people didn't pick up on it until other people pointed it out.
I think there were two, because I remember the first one I didn't notice because my friend was like, oh, did you see that? I was like, what? And then it happened again, and I was like, oh, I saw that one. So I think once he told me, that's when I noticed, because I hadn't seen it before.
Right.
He hadn't told me.
Right, exactly. So, like, it says here, someone claimed that the safety padding on the bedposts were shaped to cast phallic shadows on the wall, and that a skull face is superimposed into one of Father Merrin's breath clouds. And he talked about the sound design, like pig squeals, subliminal flashing throughout the film. But see,
That's what the Exorcist TV show's about? I wanted to watch that.
Which TV show?
So you know that there was a... You remember Fox had that Exorcist TV show?
Yeah.
So it starred Gina Davis playing a grown-up Regan, who is now dealing with the possession of her daughter and the reemergence of the demon within herself again.
I see.
And Chris is there, and there's a new Father Marcus who's battling demons. I've been wanting to watch that. Maybe I should now.
Now you have the context.
Like Hannibal for me, maybe. Better. And
I don't know how you can watch Hannibal. That's so...
It's on Netflix now. I've been watching it.
That explains the resurgence in the Hannibal memes I've been seeing. I'm like, what year is it? 2011? Why am I seeing this?
2013 and it feels so good. Oh, I mean, there's a whole resurgence of Avatar.
Yeah. No, that one I
great.
Totally understand, and I think it is well deserved, and it's fantastic, and it's because I don't think there was like that fandom culture like as massive as it was when it first came out, because it came out in like 2007 to like 2010, right? Like that was kind of before internet fandom became as big as it was, and even when it did become big around that time it was like super hulag. But now I'm like, yes, this wholesome, fantastic, wonderful.
I love looking at all the Saka Zuko art. Like, people, they get it.
The shipping wars are back.
They get it.
We've moved beyond Zutara and we have evolved into Zuka. The true water fire pairing.
It really is. Oh my goodness.
Alright, so I guess, what are your thoughts on the movie and what would you rate it?
I would rate it a 0 out of 5 because I hated every second that I watched it. And every time I learned something new about this movie, it's never anything good. It's never like, oh, that really cool thing happened. It's always like, and then there was a serial killer, and then there was this, and then there was this, and you're just like, oh, okay. But yeah, I did not like this movie. I did not enjoy any second of it. Did not have a good time. I couldn't sleep that night I watched it because I was just thinking about that awful face she had the entire movie.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not a fan.
Yeah.
0 out of 0. I don't care if it's supposed to be a really good movie. I don't care if it's supposed to be like fantastic and a classic. That movie could literally go away. Flush it down the toilet. What about you, Corinne?
I'm a little mixed. So
What?
I know the movie is supposed to be like good and well made. I am interested in reading the book, and I have also like I'm interested in reading, like I've read what the movie's about, right, multiple times, and I want to read the book, but I will never watch this movie
I will never watch
ever
the
in my
movie.
entire life. And anytime I see a scene from it, like I just like I don't want to watch it. Like I cover it. I hate it. Like never a movie I'm ever going to watch. But I am interested in the movie itself. Like that's why I want to read the book. So I'm like, oh well, I read the original source material now. Now I know what it's about, like fully.
So you're interested in the story, not so much as the movie.
Yeah, like that's the case with a lot of horror movies. I'm like, I'm interested because I want to know what happens. I want to know how they die. I want to know what's going on, but I don't want to watch it.
I want to know how they die.
So I look for the book, like the original source material, to be like, okay, what's going on here? If I really want the media thing, or I just read the synopsis. But then the other thing that is like working against it. So one, I know it's like part of the cultural, like whatever. It's like a big influential movie, obviously, and it gets referenced. But it gets
I mean,
referenced.
we've naysayed several big influential movies.
Yes, but like this plays into like the score, right? Because even the ones that I've naysayed before, I still gave like a decent score. But then another thing going against this movie is that my first ex used to quote one of the lines that girl would say, which I never liked when he did, but he did it because he thought it was funny and he thought it made him cool, which nothing he ever did ever made him look funny or cool, despite what I thought at the time.
True
Um,
statement.
yeah. So that like there's like I forgot
Let
what
me
the
just say,
line.
Korean, I never understood.
No one.
I was like,
I
why?
yeah I know.
And I was like, and then why you have to bring him everywhere? I wanted to hang out with Corinne. Not
Monze, I
Corinne
have
and this guy.
so many regrets about that. I'm just looking back now, like, Corinne, why? You could have lived your best gay life those 4 years, and
I don't know if you would have known you. It was your best gay life.
maybe I would, maybe not. Are you dying? Are you okay? Do you
I'm
need an
kind of dying.
exorcism?
It's really hot in here, and I just finished all my water.
Oh, okay.
This is not good audio. Cut all this out. Jesus Christ. Okay.
But yeah, so I think I'm gonna give the movie maybe a 1 out of 5. So
Okay.
yeah,
1, because you are interested in the story,
I'm interested in the
but
story,
not necessarily the movie.
but
As a
not the
movie.
movie. But my ex like constantly quoted it, which puts it at a 0 because bad thing. But it's also like probably well made and is culturally relevant, which brings it back to a 1.
I mean, it's definitely, I think, a different kind of horror movie, right? Because it's a lot about character in a way.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think they did that good of a job because I really didn't care about them,
Yeah.
especially not the mom. I thought she was awful.
Yeah.
But it definitely focused more on that sort of is this psychological thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it was really more about like the story as opposed to like the scares. So when the scares came, it was like, oh right, this is the movie we're in. It's not just about
Yeah. And I like that
tests.
about it. Like the idea of like, is this like actually happening or is this fake? Like that sort of tension I find compelling, especially within the genre of horror, which is why I want to read the book, especially if they play with that a lot more. So yeah, I'm gonna give it a 1 out of 5 because I would never ever watch it, which is why it's not gonna be higher than a 1. But yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
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 So next time is gonna be my movie. I think I'm gonna talk about The Prestige.
All right. I forgot. I remember you were talking about that. Yeah. I think I've seen 5 minutes of The Prestige. I've seen like I think someone was watching it, and I was like, I can't tell what's going on, and then I walked away.
That's most of the movie. I can't tell what's going on, but I stayed this time. So
wow.
I've had a lot of time.
I can't wait for you to explain these things to me.
I'm excited.
Is Edward Norton in this?
No, you're thinking of The Illusionist.
Who's in this movie?
Hugh Jackman and Christian Bale.
Okay.
And Michael Caine.
It's literally
And
the same movie to me. Okay.
yeah, and then who's the girl from Mean Girls? The
Lindsay
blonde
Lohan.
one. And she's in the
Lindsay Lohan.
No. And then she's in
Rachel McAdams?
Yes, so Rachel McAdams is in it for like a hot second. And then
Wait, Rachel McAdams or the girl from Mamma Mia?
No,
Amanda Seyfried.
Rachel McAdams is and there's another girl, but like we don't know her name.
Oh,
Yeah.
the black hair girl?
Yeah, the brown hair girl. Though we should totally stab Caesar, girl.
We could totally say I don't know.
Yeah, no one knows who she is. I'm sorry. Anyways, in case she's listening, which she's probably not. But
I hate that movie.
yeah. That movie is not like it got so lifted up to me as like, you have to watch this movie, it's so funny, I quote it all the time. Then I watched it and I was like, where are the jokes? Where are the laughs? Where's the funny? This reminds me of Princess Diaries, but worse. Like,
You coming at Princess Diaries in my house?
no, like Princess Diaries is better than it. I'm like, it's giving me Princess Diary vibes, but it is not fulfilling the Princess Diary fantasy. You know what I mean? Because there's like the best friend that gets like,
I can see that.
No.
Yeah. I don't. Yeah. Kids in high school were obsessed with it.
Yeah.
And they would always like, let's watch this movie. And I'd be like, can we watch something else?
Yeah.
This movie isn't even funny. I never found it like that entertaining. Like the first time I watched it, I was like, okay, I get it. And then the 100th time I watched it, I was like, I would rather stab myself in the face.
I've only seen it once, but I do like the "Why are you so obsessed with me" reaction.
Why are you so obsessed with me?
Why are you so obsessed with me? I'm like, oh my god, you're such a bitch. Anyways, but but yeah, The Prestige. I have a lot of thoughts about it. Oh, and Scarlett Johansson is in it randomly, which is like,
Boo.
what? And so is David Bowie, and so is Andy Serkis. There's like a lot of random people in it.
Was Andy Serkis wearing,
The dots? No.
Yeah. I'm like, what is that stuff called? Capture technology?
The mocap? No, he was just Andy Serkis.
Weird.
I know.
So weird.
Yeah. But yeah, I cannot wait to talk about it. I have many opinions. It's a little more multifaceted than Interstellar.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I don't 100% hate the movie, so well, it'll be good.
Okay.
But yeah.
All right.
Thanks for listening. Let us know in the comments if you've seen The Exorcist.
Or don't. That's fine.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk about it ever again.
Yeah. Monze, where can they find us?
Keep your thoughts seriously. You can find me at Magic Monster on Twitter. And you can find the podcast on Twitter at Don't Watch Movies. And Corinne, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Corinne is Korean. That's 1 R and 2 N's. So, yeah.
Ooh.
Woo.
Ooh, we did it.
We did it. Cool. So, yeah, thanks for listening, and we'll see you guys next time with The Prestige.
Ooh. Will it be prestigious? All right.